Hey everyone, so if you've had a new Toyota on order and it's been stuck in transit for several months now, know that you're not the only one facing this dilemma, and this is unfortunately becoming more and more of a common occurrence, especially for Toyota vehicles. Now, anybody that has purchased a car new in the last few years knows that because of a very high demand and a relatively low supply, the wait times have been excessively long for new vehicles. From the time you go and order the car to the time it shows up at the dealer, it can easily exceed a year for different models, different manufacturer. This is a pretty common thing that most people know about by now. Now, the main slowdown for this has become the supply chain constraints for parts for the manufacturers to make the cars. They just can't get the parts to build the cars as quickly as they had in years past. But typically, once they get the parts, the cars are completed, they're done, and they get pushed out of the factory, transportation normally only takes a few weeks, especially if the cars are built here in the United States, like a lot of Toyotas are now, especially like the Corollas that are built in Mississippi. So they don't have to go on a ship, they don't have to clear customs, they basically get loaded on a train or a truck, they go to a yard, then they get loaded onto another truck, and they go to the dealers. So, like I said, a few weeks is pretty normal for that process. Perfect example is the most recent vehicle I bought was my GT500. I bought that in August of 2022. That only took 3 weeks from the time it had to go from the Ford factory in Michigan to the dealer in Georgia, and it had to go both by rail and by truck. So 3 weeks was a little bit longer than it normally took, but really not excessively long at all. So that really wasn't a big deal. But unfortunately, with a lot of Toyotas, that time frame of weeks is turning into months, even for the domestically produced vehicles. One of the main reasons for this is Toyota has something called a quality control or QC hold. That basically means Toyota can hold the vehicle for up to an extra 30 days to do a multitude of things. They'll deal with TSBs, recalls, if there's any sort of issues with the vehicles, putting accessories on it, or really sometimes they just pull a random car just for an extra quality control check, just to go over the car, make sure there's no extra issues with it, basically to make sure that the factory is building the cars to their specifications and the tolerances they want the cars built for. I'm starting to see a lot of people on a lot of different Toyota forums, whether it's Toyota truck forums, people that are waiting for hybrids, that a lot of cars are getting pulled for QC holds and they are just taking an excessive amount of time in transit. It's not limited to a certain model of Toyota from what I'm seeing. Now, the QC holds aren't necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, sometimes Toyota will address the TSBs and the recalls there, and basically that's Toyota as the manufacturer addressing them before they go to the dealer. So rather than the dealer having to deal with some sort of recall, Toyota's handling it themselves. I think that is a better way to go. The dilemma that I'm running into with my car is that my car is on a 30-day QC, just basically random pull hold. So I decided I was going to get a new Corolla back in November of 22. So when I was searching for a 22, they basically were done with production by then. So I was looking at cars that were either on dealer lots or in transit. So I came across my car at a dealer about an hour away from me. The car was in transit as of the end of November of 2022. And I called the dealer, see what the status of the car was. He said about a 4-week wait time. So I'm like, okay, that's not really too bad. So end of December comes, my car's not there, and they really don't have any updates for it. So now I've been in transit for 5-6 weeks or so. So I'm like, all right, it's a little bit longer than normal, but not bad. I waited another 3 weeks, called them again. So they checked their system. They got an update. Early January, it got put on a QC hold for 30 days. So, all right, I don't think there was any issues with the car. I had them check their system for notes for damage to the car. They said there was no reported damage to the car. There was no problems with the car. I don't believe there were any TSBs or recalls that had to be done with the car. From what I can tell, I'm not aware of a single one for that car. And I even actually went on the Toyota app and put my car in and checked, and there was nothing listed. So I don't think there's an issue with the car. So they're pretty sure that it just got pulled for a random just quality control check. So that was the beginning of January, and that's 30 days added on top of it. So now we are into mid-February, and that 30 days has expired. I haven't heard anything yet from the dealer, and now we're closing in on 3 months in transit for the car. The dealer even told me this isn't normal, this is an excessively long amount of time, but like I said, I'm starting to see a lot of people with various Toyotas say that they're experiencing these hold times where it's taking a month, 2 months, even more. They're closing in on 3 months like I am. So it is a little bit frustrating having to wait for a car this long. Fortunately, this car is perfectly fine, perfectly operational. There's nothing wrong with this car. It's still in good, perfectly functional order, but like I said, I'm just kind of basically waiting for the car. I bought a whole bunch of stuff for the car I want to put on it, and I'm just basically just unfortunately just waiting for it to arrive. Now I'm definitely going to really check the car very thoroughly when it does arrive at the dealer. I'm going to go over all the body panels, make sure everything's good, check it with my paint depth gauge, make sure all the paint is original and that there were not any issues with it, check all the seams, make sure that nothing's been removed, changed, that there were not any problems with the car, but I really don't think that's going to be an issue because for a while I thought there might have been a problem because it's been taking so long, but because so many other Toyota owners are saying they're experiencing the same issue, I think unfortunately this is just something that people waiting for new cars are going to have to just deal with, and this is just making the process just become even more drawn out and even more frustrating that the cars are just taking so long to get to the dealers. So my recommendation is if you have a car and it's been in transit for a while and you're wondering what the heck's taking so long, reach out to your dealer. They do get periodic updates from Toyota in their system, basically noting where the car is, what's going on with it, so they can give you a rough idea of what's going on. It might not specifically say exactly when it's coming, because basically Toyota doesn't really give exact updates. They said typically sometimes the cars just show up. They won't give them a heads up like, oh, it's going to be delivered on this date. The truck just shows up and the car gets unloaded, they put it into inventory and up your car's here. So just know that, yes, it's frustrating. I know how people feel about these excessively long waits, just even the in-transit time, not including all the production and factory wait times, but reach out to your dealer and see basically where your Toyota is and if they have a rough idea of when the car should show up. So that's basically where I am. My car's been in transit for almost 3 months now. Hopefully that, because that 30-day quality control hold has expired now, any day it should show up at the dealer, and hopefully I'll have my new Corolla very soon. So I hope you enjoyed the video and found this informative. Thanks for watching.